Friends, we have arrived at the mid-year point, and I thought a great time for a 6-month beauty roundup covering the products that I absolutely love and maybe some that I loved initially and kind of like or regrets and all those things. I tried to be as organized as I could, but the attempt I made in being organized was simply going through my YouTube list for the last 6 months, jotting down the products that I saw on those videos and evaluating which ones were worth covering in this mid-year faves. Some didn't necessarily release in 2025, but I purchased in 2025 and thus wanted to include these products. And I had to kick off the list with Bad to the Brows collaboration with Clionadh Cosmetics, her Light Scatters multi-chromatic palette. I actually have this on with the Prada, and I'll let you know about the Prada down the road. I think this is my go-to kind of sparkly, pizzazzy, supplementary palette that will provide, again, the multi-chrome experience without the hassle, where I can pair this with any of my more subdued basic palettes. What comes to mind, Viseart, of course, their recently released Midsummer. If I just wanted to level up the shine and multi-chrome effects for those shadows and not having to worry about mattes, because as I demonstrated in my review video, these textures are quite soft and easy to blend, where you can place them through your crease and just build the multichromatic effect from there. And I found myself color blocking, if you will, and layering these different shades on top of one another without it looking weird or out of place. I was successful in creating these multichrome looks, or multichromatic looks, I should say, without it appearing too out there, too otherworldly, although you can go there for sure, because I also purchased alongside the palette Bad to the Brows Millie, the eye primer, or I think it's more like an eye glue that has better adherence for these types of textures. And again, whether I use it as supplementary or I just commit to a multichromatic look, this Light Scatters palette has just been a joy to use, a delight to have in my collection, and happy that I'm kicking it off the list with Light Scatters. I don't know at this point which tool I will award Best of 2025, but Sonia G's Mini Buffer is in heavy contention. This little guy released earlier this year a smaller version of her sheer buffer that I believe was last year or 2 years ago, I can't recall. This little tool is godsend for any type of cream product. Primarily, I've been using Mini Buffer for my cream cheek products, cream bronzers. If you don't know, this brush is made out of synthetic and natural Psycho goat hair. It has the stipple design, which, if you don't know, I would encourage you to read Sonia's blog about each and every brush she releases, because Sonia breaks down the craftsmanship behind each brush, what is involved in developing her tools. And I remember distinctly, when it comes to mixing synthetic and natural fibers, it is quite difficult and labor intensive, where you have to get the ratios just right, the bundling right, and the density. It's quite fascinating to learn more about how these tools are made, and specifically for the Mini Buffer. I mean, I can't think of a more exceptional brush in my personal collection that lays on cream cheek products like a freaking dream. I mean, so much so where even in this weather, okay, where it's been hot and humid and some days just unbearable, I still feel inclined to wear blush just because I want to use this brush. That's what it's come down to. Okay, family, this brush is so sublime and incredible to use. I just want to use it just because the effortless performance and application from the Mini Buffer is simply unparalleled, and the way it just lays on cream cheek products that might have given you trouble in the past, because this is one of Sonia's goals, in that she wants to produce tools that bridge the gap between the user and a fussy product, that you find the tool now, or she develops one that will bring that fussy product back to life, that will actually level it up in your collection from a product that you loathe, that one that you absolutely love now. This is the magic behind Sonia tools, or many of her tools. So I had to include this on the mid-year faves list because this tool has been instrumental in how my cream blush products have looked, have applied, and just now encourages me. I mean, the incentive now is out of control where every cream cheek product I see released, I want to try it just because I have this brush. Is a problem. We'll talk about it later. Speaking of blush, although I gushed about cream products, I have to also include the YSL Make Me Blush powder blush that released early this year in January. Yes, I have 5. Is a problem. If I were to quickly list my favorites, definitely Rose Haze is one of the most effortless neutral warm pinks for my complexion. The way it just lays on and gives me the right amount of blush without it being, again, it's just the default shade for every day. Next, I will have to award Peachy Nude. Peachy Nude is just exceptional. And excuse me, Alicia, for not describing this beautifully smooth texture of a matte. In the entire line, you have satin and you have matte. I think in all, I might have 3 matte finishes and 2 of the satin. One of them being the lilac shade, I think is Baby Doll. I should not have purchased the shade. As much as I could work with it, I can definitely find a tool that will buff this down so it won't appear white-ish on my complexion, and for sure would be appropriate for a look that intentionally created to have more of like that light pastel look of my complexion, but not one that I reach for often. I just wanted to, it was curiosity. And it killed me. The next one is Nude Lavalier, which is a lot more user-friendly, although cool tone, definitely more appropriate for my skin tone in creating that beautiful rose flush with a little bit of mauve. And you can see in the satin formula, it has that sheen, but it doesn't look chunky or glittery on the skin. It blends out quite smoothly. And lastly, I bought this during a Nordstrom event. I definitely was swayed. Pink Voltage is pretty. It's definitely in your face pink. Literal pink. I think it's fun to have, actually more wearable than the lilac shade for my skin tone, because you can just place this on, or I could just apply this and have it appear just pink. And sure, I could pair it with a lipstick or a lip hybrid product. Maybe I can throw on not necessarily eyeshadow, but diffuse liner with mascara, and I think it'll be cute, right? So I can definitely work with the shade. I could even throw it on now. I'll let you know what I have on the cheeks when we get there. But those have been my YSL blush selects. But by far, in my opinion, one of the best formulated powder blushes that released this year. It's because, again, of its wide shade range. Although limited for US buyers, there are more shades overseas in Europe and Asia. Rose Haze was one of those late to the US shades that I finally grabbed at a Sephora in Orlando, but one of the shades to always sell out, not only on Sephora, but on Selfridges. Coral Haze, I think, was the other shade I had my eye on, and Nude something. It was Nude something. I haven't purchased those yet because I'm quite happy with Rose Haze and its role, again, being that default blush shade that I could just throw on without thinking, and it does what it needs to do. And now we have arrived to what I actually have on my cheeks for blush. The Natasha Denona High Blush in Fresh Mauve. The Cloudy Cream is a long name. Cloudy Cream Cheek Duo. Fresh Mauve was the only shade I purchased, and I'm happy with it because I was quite pleased with the texture of this cream cheek product, and delighted to find out that despite the Fresh Mauve name, applied rosier on my skin tone, which I like. I dig roses in the blush category. Again, effortless shade for me to wear, gives me that flush look without it appearing too garish or too color heavy, and the texture is easy to apply, again with the help of our beloved mini buffer. But even with a finger application, I thought that the texture, yes, was creamy, but it's still lightweight. It doesn't have a heavy feel on the skin. And alongside here, you have what I wouldn't classify it as a literal highlight. It's more of a blush light that you can mix with the cream cheek product and have more of a luminous effect on your cheekbone instead of it being just the color. And again, out of all the cream cheek products that I've tried thus far, I think the high blush is definitely top notch. My gripe with this product is not necessarily the texture itself, but the colors. Natasha went super pink rose overall. I think it's Vamps. That was one shade. The other shade I had my eye on, but decided not to purchase because I didn't think it was necessary. I would have loved to see more terracottas, of course. Look whose channel you're visiting right now. Tangerine, even the lighter lilac, right? I thought the high blush lineup was so pink heavy in different tones that I would have loved to have this texture again in the warmer, kind of spicier tones. Who knows if Natasha will expand this line down the road. I mean, I thought I would see bronzer in this formula, but we saw that Natasha released her high something, I think it's in the high dash category in her makeup line. It's a liquid bronzer, but judging from how successful I think her high blush cream product is, I haven't tried the liquid bronzer yet. I'm looking to grab a sample hopefully soon so I could get on here and try it. I think it'll be beautiful. It's more so the colors, right? It's not so much the texture, but my gosh, Natasha has to expand her high blush line again in including the warmer toastier shades. That would be phenomenal. I'm crossing my fingers. Maybe we'll get something. Obviously not for holiday, but maybe next year. I don't know. I'm hoping. Following up with Sonia's mini buffer, I had to include her Master Tesshyu collaboration set. And again, this set for me, which I forgot to mention, the mini buffer was sent to me complimentary. I bought this set first and then Sonia said cancel the order, it's on its way. I'm like, okay Sonia, I'll listen to you. I don't have a problem buying Sonia tools because they're worth it. But just so you know, yes, they were sent to me in PR. My apologies for not mentioning that with mini buffer. The Tesshyu set was also sent as a gift. I believe her mini buffer was a more successful release because although I think this is a treasured set just because of who Master Tesshyu is, being the founder of Holo, the big mama brush, unfortunately people were not happy with because of the ratio of squirrel to goat hair. This type of brush head shape needs a little more goat hair to sustain its stability, and also the black dye changes the infrastructure of the squirrel bristle, where if you place a lens like a microscope lens on it, you could see the tips frayed and flatten. So that gives it a more of a pointed, not a smooth feel to the skin. So many users were disappointed to find out that this brush wasn't as soft as implied, knowing that it did contain both blue squirrel and goat hair. It's because of the dye and because there's more goat hair than squirrel for the brush shape. Regardless of that, the wood use, the ferrule, the kanji symbols on each brush. The smaller brush is all made with blue squirrel, so feels softer than the larger powder brush. The smaller eyeshadow brush, again, all blue squirrel, is a one and done brush that, yes, I will create a mid-year faves playlist where you can see all videos taking a deeper dive for each of these picks. I still had to include this set just because of the story behind the collaboration, Sonia's intention behind each design. And again, yes, this is a biased view. I absolutely love Sonia. We have a relationship. And even if some of her releases aren't as high S tier as others that she has done and developed, I think this set is still special. Yes, could this brush be softer? Absolutely. I still tolerate it because I love the shape and of course how it lays down product. Isamaya Beauty released her line in February and it was a bit of a haul. I bought a bunch of stuff and I think these might be my standout picks out of her collection. Her skin enhancing duo was one of the more highly anticipated products that we saw on the sneak peeks. You have the highlighter here, the cream blush underneath. Basically makes me think about Natasha's high blush, and this is the color I wanted to see in the high blush formula, but compared to Natasha's cream cheek product, that Isamaya's is a lot shinier, is a lot more emollient, so it's going to give you more of a radiant finish versus a high blush. The high blush can look shiny, but it dries down, in my opinion, to more of a natural finish and a little more normal to oily combination, skin friendly versus the Isamaya. Isamaya is a little more on the dew side, but not by much, right? But you can see the movement there with the texture. And up top you have the cream highlighter, which compared nicely with the cream cheek color. I love these duos. I know I haven't used them as much as I should have, which should encourage me to buy less. Yes, that was Capricorn, by the way. And the other one, the first one I purchased, was Nectarine. Nectarine is fun to wear because of this tangerine shade that I could just throw on, and a nice escape from the terracottas and the roses and the corals that I have. I think is pretty for spring and summer. Don't know if I would like it for autumn or winter, although I can be creative in combining this with the toastier shades in my blush collection, so that it could appear more brighter here on the center of my face and then more toasty terracotta here through the hollows. Lip liners might not blow someone away for their formula. I think it's a solid formula. They're not too creamy, not too drying. They have contouring effects on the lips, but they also keep the lipstick from feathering. It's more so the color selection that I'm most impressed by. I have Geisha and Liberica. Liberica is unlike a color I usually wear, but this brown taupe I just think beautiful if I want to fully commit to a cool tone look. Eye, lip to cheek. Geisha is like my lip color, but a little more red brown, and I think exceptional with a lot of my reddish tone lipsticks that I have that are not full on red but have a little bit of that red undertone, and paired with Geisha, it is absolute perfection. And her sculpting stick, what is the official name actually? I'm probably making up. The sculpting stick, yes, the contouring stick, I have it in maple. On the cooler side, but I thought nice to have in my collection. Again, if I wanted a more cool tone look, this is great for my hollows and my skin tone overall, where it doesn't look shadowy or bruised, and the texture is quite smooth and easy to blend. It has a little more color delivery than the Victoria Beckham. We'll get to the Victoria Beckham Beauty. That has its own place as like a category in itself on this mid-year face list. But if I were to quickly show you, which I had missaid or misspoke about, the color for the VBB stick is marble. I said in my original video that it was also named Maple Lies. You can see marble is warmer. So this color, a little more appropriate for now. If I wanted to enhance that bronzy tone overall on my face, I'll have marble. If I wanted to stick to a more contoured, cool tone, shadowy look, I have maple. If you want to see the other products in action, I'll have that video on the playlist. They're fine. I just haven't reached for those products as much as I do with the ones I showed. The serum, the metallic lip is pretty. The metallic lip is pretty, but the color I chose, Penny, is one I just don't choose to wear now. It's more grunge and I think autumn winter appropriate with the plummy, the dark plums and the wines and the burgundy shades. I could get down with usually, but right now, seasonally, my head's just not there. It's just not there. Charlotte's Beautifying Eye Trend Palettes, that caused quite a stir on their release when consumers saw that they took on a drugstore-like packaging element. And knowing Charlotte Tilbury and what her packaging is usually like, it was a far departure from that. And people were either unsure or just downright rejected these. I gave them a shot, especially when I swatched them in store. The first one I swatched was Super Neutral, and also the first palette I purchased. I was not ready for the sparkle and shine because, man, when I swatched this shade in store, I was like, wait a minute. I'll forgive the drugstore looking packaging for this formula. And that I did. Super neutral, easy to use, especially when I pair it with Isamaya's Maple Contour Stick and Prada's Hyper Matte, I think in B01. Ooh, what a great combination. I also caved and purchased Sensual Sunset, but I was gifted Emerald Effect by my request when working with Beautylish to release I think it was the spring Beautylish gift card event. This is also fun. Even with the greens, you have bronzes and neutral browns in here that you can easily make a daily look with. Overall, despite people's disappointment about the packaging, the formula is solid, easy to use, and you can't go wrong with these quads, or what am I saying? 9-pan palettes, I can't count. You can see the shadows, and I think that was probably, I'm just speculating, what led to the brand's decision in designing the compact in its way, just for the buyer to see the shadows right away. And the shadow textures themselves, the arrangement of these shadows, worked as an advertisement for the palette. Whereas a buyer, when I see these, I'm immediately drawn to the color story and to the shadow effects 100%. And then secondarily, I see, oh, it's plastic, but these palettes have a little more weight to what I felt on with a 9-pan drugstore palette that I just felt in CVS to get a feel. These have a little more weight, so yes, it's plastic, but it appears or feels that the materials used are a little more expensive, because I think materials have a hierarchy. You got really cheap bad plastic, and then you got more expensive durable plastic, and I don't know how much more expensive this plastic is to, let's say, LA girl, but I could feel that they might have put in a little more money into the compact despite it looking cheaper than other Charlotte Tilbury compact designs, but I like them. I haven't purchased more since because I think this 3 fulfills kind of like my wheelhouse of eyeshadow colors that I usually like to wear and gravitate towards. So happy with the 3 that I have, and moving on to the next thing. Natasha's Bloom. That, yes, I had to keep the box because some boxes I keep, some boxes I get rid of. This is the Peachy Coral palette of the season, one of her more monochromatic offerings, and I haven't been wearing this often because I think I mentioned this maybe in my Bloom video, I can't recall. If I had to choose, I would wear her I Need a Warm more than Bloom. Bloom can be pretty, and I think it's lovely, especially, thinking now, pairing Bloom with Charlotte's Unreal Blush Stick in Peachy Glow. I mean, this right here. Hello. I think that would be a lovely combination. But again, that is a specific look and colors that I wouldn't normally gravitate towards on my more effortless default days, if that makes any sense. I will have to say, I want to deliberately have peachy coral eyes today, and I just don't do that as often. I usually just go towards more neutral soft haze, but maybe I should just use this palette more often, explore its possibilities, and just kind of get used to using these shades, give it a shot. Also, I've just been reaching for my smaller palettes. The larger palettes are losing favor in my collection. It's something that I loved early on in my beauty YouTube career, but now, just from packing, traveling a little more, I don't grab the larger palettes anymore. Even when I'm not traveling, just using something smaller, more edited and streamlined just takes out the decision fatigue when applying eyeshadow. And maybe one of the main reasons I haven't been using Bloom is because I have been reaching for the quints, the quads, even the smaller 9-pans as I just showed from Charlotte. Anything within this realm of size, I've just been reaching for. But again, something I have to remember is a palette that I have. I should use it more often, and who knows what Natasha will release for holiday. She usually releases a 15-pan midi for holiday, as she did last year. I think Roxa was the holiday palette of choice. Who knows what route she would go. I'm hoping she releases Metropolis as a midi. You know what she could do for holiday? She should release a midi star, because the color story in Star is so holiday appropriate. You got the antique golds in there, the maroons, that turquoise maroon duochrome. Oh, that could be ultra holiday. And reformulating some of those shades with her sparkled foiled format, or her, what was it called? It was not, I call it razzle dazzle. It was like a lighter twinkle effect formula that she developed also. Ooh, if she comes out with the midi Star, I'm buying it. This is it. It's already decided. The Prada Beauty Holo Nude palette that I actually have Primula here on my eyes with light scatters. And what I just expressed about reaching for smaller palettes just now, the Holo Nude formula is a little different from their standard palette formula, and I have actually a video breaking down the formulas for all the Prada shadows that I have. I don't have all of them, almost though, and just making those distinctions between the different textures and finishes. But something I adore about Prada is just this creamy feel that's easy to pick up. It has that natural sheen where you can just apply this solo on the lids, blend it with your finger even. You don't even have to use a brush. There's enough creaminess in there where you can blend skin to skin and the edges appear diffused and not splotchy whatsoever. Again, it's just the effortless experience with these textures that is hard to not reach for. I have all three. I should not have purchased, what is it, Peony. Peony is the lightest out of the three. Definitely out of FOMO and just wanting all three of them. I should have stuck to Primula and Pansy, which is the more rose tone one. It's lovely, and I think has, again, it's like an edited Bloom, except the duochrome in there, Bloom doesn't have. But if I were to pick between the two, I've just been liking these lighter shadow looks as of late. I would have 100% chose Pansy over Bloom because Pansy only has 4 shades, and I could have added like a pencil for the lash line, or maybe one of VBB's satin gel liners to prep the entire lid. In general, for the last 6 months, my eyeshadow routine has shifted a little bit. I'm not as eyeshadow color heavy and intense as I was years ago, and prefer these hybrid formulas that practically blend themselves, do the work for you. They're just remarkably formulated. What can I say? This is around the time where I purchased a bunch of luxury makeup, and I remember filming a video titled "Am I a Luxury Beauty Channel Now?" I gravitate towards those brands now because the packaging, the textures, also the colors, which leads me to mention the Hermès, both the bronzer and the Rose Halley number 10, which I am tempted to just apply now. This serves as, to me, like a blush finisher. Once you have everything on the skin, this has a blush effect, yes, but it's more so of a blush light effect. And even applied solo, I was skeptical initially because when you swatch, you're like, is that really going to show up as anything? It actually showed up as like a light coral tinge to the skin, just on bare skin. And it builds quite nicely. So you can build the color up, and it has just like that wash effect on the cheeks. See how it brought the color a little more forward without it looking too pink on the center of my face? And although there's pearl in the formula, you can go in with a buff to get a little bit of that pearl buff down so it appears smoother. The problem is that it is quite fragrant. So if you do not like perfumey products, you're not going to like Hermès anything. And I had to pick up this bronzer because this bronzer has just this toasted look to the undertone that, oof, by itself, the way it warms my complexion without it appearing orange, it almost like brings heat to a bronzer or to the bronzing look on my skin. And the texture is phenomenal. It's pretty. I actually have a YouTube short comparing this to the VBB bronzing brick, and many of you prefer the bronzing brick over the Hermès Sienne. I could totally see that because the color for the VBB bronzing brick is quite unique. It's like a peachy brown. This is more of a traditional bronze, like a warm, almost caramelly, like a burnt caramel. It's pretty though, and I'm happy that is in my collection. The Prada mascara. I know there were some that were not happy with the Prada mascara, but it has been one of the best mascaras I have ever tried. It's one of those satisfying mascaras to wear, and I think the standout characteristic is how the brush is designed. You see the bristles on one side, they're quite dense, and the mascara itself has like this grab to the lashes that feels satisfying to comb through, where you can feel that thickening effect without the lashes looking goopy or sitting heavy on the eyes. It has just like this lashed out effect. And I noticed that the other day when I just applied it lightly just to go to the gym. Again, the products have been so good in my collection that I just want to put something on just to feel it go on. I love applying this mascara, even if I don't need it. I know I don't need it. Is not to impress anybody. I just want to put it on because it's so much fun to put on this mascara. I have it on now for the look. Super black, dramatic. You could build it up. I have an entire video showing the different stages or the different layers of application for the Pradascope. Oh, I have a tube on standby that I bought in the Sephora sale that's brand new because I've been using this. I think I'm reaching, this might be month number 4. So I'm past the due date. 90 days is the recommended cut time for mascara because it goes quite quickly, more so than other makeup items. Just so you know, I'm careful, okay? I'm keeping track. It's still going strong though. And I had to include this on the mid-year faves list because this Pradascope mascara is exceptional. I know I'm just saying that. I'm speaking for myself. I understand not everyone is gonna love this, and people have expressed that it's not work for them. That's cool. But for me, stand out. Givenchy Everything. I have the Glow Serum Foundation on today. If I were to quickly to make a comparison, I prefer this over what I'm currently sampling from Exa Beauty, their high fidelity foundation that the associates from Credo Beauty were nice enough to provide. Definitely consider them both to be similar in texture, skincare heavy, doesn't look dewy on the skin. It has more of like a luminous natural finish. I prefer the Skin Match 4.5N of the Givenchy over the high fidelity. The Givenchy, however, being a luxury beauty product, although not all luxury beauty products have fragrance, this one has fragrance. And I understand how you would go towards like a more clean beauty route where it's not as fragrant, but they might include essential oils in there anyway, which I don't consider to be clean beauty, whatever, but that's just my opinion. I prefer this texture. If I were to pick like a luminous type of foundation, I would pick the Givenchy over the Exa Beauty, although I do appreciate the Exa Beauty for feeling skincare loving, if you will. When I apply that foundation, it feels like I have something on my face, and especially on days that are uncomfortably hot that I wore on purposefully just to see if I was going crazy or not. Not crazy about how the Exa Beauty feels on super hot days, but the Givenchy feels more comfortable in my opinion on super hot days. I would still choose the Prada foundation over Givenchy for longer wear. And the Prism loose blushes, not new, okay? These were long released before 2025, but I had the pleasure of finally trying these Prism Libre loose powder blushes. I have 3, as you can see. Brick Red, number 6. Woody Orange, number 4. Organza Cyan is like a goated color, okay? Number 3, Wild Coral in the Coral Orange. Definitely Organza Cyan is my favorite. It's like a rosy brown, perfectly rosy brown. And again, they do have fragrance, but there is something about applying a loose blush formula. The advantage of loose powder over pressed is that I just think it's more fluid on the application and the blend. The color payoff is exceptional, and that you have 4 different tones in one jar I think just adds dimension to the final look, to the final blush look, where you could layer more than one. They all blend well together. It doesn't appear disjointed or weird. These are just beautiful. Oh my gosh. I haven't purchased any more, as you can see. Not keeping any secrets. These are the 3 that I have. I could justify buying others, but in my opinion, if you're my skin tone, either 6, 3, or 4. If I were to pick one, however, and you're my skin tone, go with number 4. Wait for a sale. Reach out to your Nordstrom, your Givenchy representative. Tell them to put it on hold until a sale event pops up. This is a permanent shade, so it's not limited edition. No rush to buy it. I'm just saying, if these blushes were on your radar and you were having trouble deciding out of like the 5, 6 colored ways that they have, you gotta get number 4. In my opinion, is my favorite. And I could mention other Givenchy favorites. Their eyeshadow palette for spring 2025. I was not hip to this when it first released, and it is quite light, but I was enamored by the shimmer textures and again, just the ease of use. It is 9 pan, but quite smaller than Charlotte's palettes. And again, it's a nice spring look to create, especially if I have my Prada liners or even my BBB liners that we'll get to later on the list. And their Rose Perfecto Shine Serum Lipstick, I like also. The color though, I'll see if they release something that I prefer in there. I think it's autumn collection with the denim that you could check out. I covered in my Shot With Me, my recent Shot With Me video. This is in Chilling Brown. It is a warm brown nude. It has like, actually has a nice scent to it. So this isn't bad. It's a little more red than I would like, but it is great on its own. I have worn this solo, just like maybe with a blush or light mascara. This will look nice with my Sonia Beauty, but I also have the Sonia Beauty Rewind lipstick, but this lipstick is a little more durable, where the Sonia Beauty one is so emollient that any slight push, because it's been so hot, is not great for the bullet. But it's a pretty color. I like it. Lisa Eldridge. I'll devote this time to cover not only what I bought in April, but what I also bought recently in June. I had the pleasure of buying Medici for the first time alongside Betty. Betty was a limited edition release. This is Medici, which is a cool berry. And the minute I tried Rouge Experience, I just recognized the otherworldly texture Lisa has developed for this product. It is a satin, but it is so incredibly lightweight. It feels like a veil of color, but it delivers more than just a veil of color. You can see the payoff on the swatch, but you could also see its potential to build in color. So you can apply it where it's just lighter in terms of having more of like a veil, like a light tint, more than a tint, I would say, but you could also build it to where the color is more intense, but the feel of it doesn't feel like a lipstick. It's just remarkable in the texture. And then I had to follow through and purchase Ashes of Roses, Toasted, and Ray, 2 of the 3 new additions to the Rouge Experience line, released with her Desert Gleam palette for her summer collection. I also have a video not only reviewing Betty, but recently reviewing Desert Gleam, and this is what I would consider Lisa's take on grungy tones. She was very much inspired by Safari Chic that happened in the late 60s, early 70s for those fashion shoots, wanted to bring that inspiration into her palette, and wanted to also bring 90s grunge to her lipstick. This is Ray, which is a chocolatey mauve that I simply cannot get enough of. Love this color, especially when I have nothing on. That's where it just looks beautiful. And if I wanted to, I could run black coffee along the lash line, or Prada liners would, get into the Pradascope, and be done. Not even have any blush. I mean, just totally committing to eyes and lip with this color. Sign me up. And where's Toasted? I think I have Toasted here as well. Ashes of Roses is in my fanny pack somewhere, but this is Toasted, just the quintessential beige, but it's like a milky beige. It's not a warm beige, which I love, because to have it more on the cooler side, not entirely, I think just makes it more wearable with other makeup in my collection, and has like this beautiful glam effect that for me, beige is hard to achieve with my skin tone. I gotta give a shout out to Lisa's Kitten Lash in Burnt Umber, because I do adore the color, and I think it's fun to pair with terracotta shadows, the warm browns, even with Desert Gleam, or just to have it on solo for a softer lash effect. I do prefer Pradascope, but it'll be interesting if Pradascope or Prada Beauty develop the color in the Pradascope mascara formula. I would love that. I would even take a more neutral brown, like more of like a wood brown versus the terracotta burnt clay brown. Sign me up if they ever come up with that shade. But I love the Pradascope formula so much that I would adore if that mascara came in more colors next year. Maybe we'll have a holiday limited edition release. Who knows what Prada will release for holiday? They did release that metallic palette, the metallic quad, that I did not purchase, and I think it was it the Bombs or something else? I can't recall. Ooh, but wouldn't it be phenomenal if they came out with a color mascara? Please, I'm hoping. These were the main products from my Dolce & Gabbana favorites for mid-year, and I actually have a little bit of this bronzer on in number 3 medium. It is such a unique shade. It's more of like, it's like a true caramel bronze with a little bit of yellow. You see that? Dare I classify it as like a warm mustard? You know, what's that color? Valley? This is like the Valley shadow in Natasha Denona's Yucca palette. This right here is the bronzer color. And I just lightly placed it over another bronzer. I got 2 bronzers on. Can you tell? No, because I use a phenomenal brush to apply it. And the Cheeks and Eyes Match Lasting Blush and Eyeshadow Powder in 06 Playful Rosewood. Again, in with the terracottas. This, however, serves as a one and done. A shade I can apply from hollows to cheeks, just do the entire region. I don't have to follow up with highlighter. I don't have to follow with another blush. It's just phenomenal as that one color that does everything, and what I also featured in my top 10 bronzers. And now looking at all these bronzers that I purchased since January, I feel inclined to film a dedicated video to the bronzers so that we could take a look at all the undertones, the differences, and not only the colors, but the textures as well. So that's on the queue. Our Petalmorphosis. When Pat McGrath announced, or the brand at least, to say we were finally getting a mothership this year, oh my gosh, the talk, the dialogue, the uncertainty, the excitement, the disappointment. We were waiting for the baked formula to return, but we received something nice. This is the quad that's usually reserved in older Pat McGrath palettes for the triple number shade, the Blitz shade, the VR shade. Despite it not being baked, I do feel they perform quite well. And I enjoy the Petalmorphosis color story. It's kind of giving magical forest with a little bit of edge. And the fact that you have the hunter green matte and this beautiful mauve rose, I guess I would say closer to mauve, but surprisingly, it actually applies a little warmer than how it appears on pan. It looks more orchid in my opinion and looks more cool mauve in pan. And then you have this color here, the lavender. You see how it's kind of like mushed? This is one of the brand's newer hybrid formulas, but I think just looks beautiful. Look at that shine and the pickup, right? So the way it lays on the skin, on the lid, is soft. It doesn't accentuate texture because it's not super tight and creamy. It has more of like a veil feel on the application, and I think forgiving on several lid types and textures. The Eden shade, this chartreuse, just one of the standout colors in Petalmorphosis. Again, we could go on about the formula change, the rumors, the blah blah blah. I think Petalmorphosis is a beautiful palette. That's all. Just from being a Pat McGrath Labs fan, I understand the changes that have been made or been going on in her brand, how the packaging has kind of devolved a little bit. There were formulation changes, obviously what we see in Petalmorphosis. Just from a beauty enthusiast standpoint, taking out the fangirl out of it, I love this color story. I think it's great for spring, and despite how color heavy it might look, I think quite wearable, especially if you just stick to one shade at a time, or even just use one matte with a pairing fun shade here that you can definitely go a little more neutral if you wanted. For instance, I love this shade, although it can appear quite smoky. If I were to just use this burgundy all over the lid, or I guess this is more of like a burgundy eggplant, the haze on my eyes would just be stunning, and I could leave it at that. Or I could follow up with the more bronze shade here if I wanted something a little more lightweight. In the same way, I could apply this all over the lid, have that shine, but you see the edges, or you could probably predict just from my finger blend here how the edges will look soft through the crease, and again, leave it at that. So I think the textures are easy to use. The colors, I feel at the same time fun. They have an electric element to them, and I think it encourages the user to kind of get out of their comfort zone and play a little bit. Again, do wish Petalmorphosis came in a smaller palette size. If only we had these shades like this, right? If that was the case, I would take Petalmorphosis everywhere with me. But unfortunately, I'm not gonna haul a mothership on a trip with me, so we'll just have to use it when home and on my way out somewhere. But I think it's a fun palette and happy to have it on the mid-year faves list. Friends, fun fact, we are continuing this mid-year faves extravaganza next day because I didn't allot enough time to film this video, as I didn't anticipate how long my list would be. But I thought it would be appropriate just to show some of the faves in action that I've already mentioned. I decided to apply the Givenchy Glow Serum Foundation on this particularly hot day, and just to confirm the weather conditions, I applied the foundation this morning at 6 a.m. It is now a high of 89 degrees, mostly sunny, 47% humidity, so not super humid, which was great. Although hot, it was reasonably hot for the summertime. I did wear my hat. I did train this morning, not super sweaty, but it was a little uncomfortable since the portion of the gym I was training in was getting hit directly by the sun, and you can tell that one part of the floor was cooler than the other. So the masochist that I am did my squats on the hot part of the floor because that's where the rack was. What are you gonna do? And on top, I applied the Farah Hamidi bronzer that you could check out the video here. It was a quick first impressions, and I also wanted to show the brush that I used because hello, where is the brush for the demonstration? Because in my original first impressions, I applied it with a goat hairbrush that probably picked up too much product. So instead, I used a smaller, I think this might be dyed goat hair. I can't recall. It's softer, smaller, and more flexible than the Wayne Goss brush. Applied it this morning with the Saie Supersuede blush in Chow. Some Prada liner wood for the lash line, Pradascope, of course, and dabbed on that peachy terracotta color from the YSL Mini Clutch. Of course, I have Farah's lip contour in Minky with Hourglass's soft matte lipstick in Sparrow. So before I powdered, I just wanted you to see how the skin looks after several hours of wear. And even though it is quite hot outside, the Glow Serum foundation was comfortable. And I do appreciate the natural luminosity that occurs just from having this type of foundation, even on a hot day. I would recommend, however, if you're not keen to look this radiant, because I get it, I would go for Prada's Reveal Skin Optimizing Foundation, which is a soft matte finish, the Nessa's Blurring Balm, which is also soft matte and is formulated to combat excess oil throughout the day. I don't mind a little glow Joe, you know what I'm saying? But I could still slap on some powder, but I wanted to show you my skin on camera first before I applied a little powder, just so the light doesn't make me look so glistening. Yes, Givenchy does have fragrance, but I much prefer that foundation over the Exa Beauty High Fidelity foundation. Despite me liking how my skin looked, the Exa foundation, it just felt like I had something on my face. And also, the skin match was okay, but the 4.5N in the Givenchy is S tier match, and I couldn't surpass it. So I won't be buying the Exa Beauty, and just happy to know that the Glow Serum foundation, despite it being more natural finish on the more luminous side, still fares well on a hot day. The bronzer though, we'll get to the bronzer. I have my list ready. I think we left off from Mother's Petalmorphosis, so let's continue this brigade. Ooh, we got a long way to go. Burberry. I have a video up on my channel reviewing these 3 products. The eyeshadow palette in Midnight. I decided to get the smoky colorway because I thought this was one of the more impressive looking shadows out of the 4 or 5 colorways that they have. Burberry concealer in 85MC. This is a beautiful formula. It's creamy, it's not heavy. It has more, I would say, more of a natural finish compared to the Gucci concealer, which I've been using interchangeably. They serve different roles, and I think in the end, you have to choose the brand that will provide the best color match for you under eyes. I appreciate 85MC because it's not so brightening that it looks artificial under my eyes, and it pairs quite well with my favorite foundations that I have in my collection. And lastly, the Burberry Brit Shine Lipstick 606 Rose Petal, one of the most beautiful looking hybrid rose tinted shades. This is a lovely color on the lip, although it does like to travel, so I have to make sure that the inside of my lip is clean because it can get on the lip if I don't take that step. But there's something about this color that enhances my lip in a way that just makes it rosier without it appearing too pink, and it just lifts my entire complexion and gives it that nice boost of something from this lip color. You could just see, right? It's not super pink and not super red, and the light exposure might be kind of distorting the color a little bit, but you can see it in action in my Burberry video that I filmed. And again, because it's a shine lipstick, it's a hybrid product, the color delivery is absolutely there, shinier than your typically formulated satin lipstick, and also it has conditioning properties because it's a lipstick, but it's supposed to be a treatment, I think, as well. I'm not entirely sure if they have like a lip balm or tinted lip balm in the Burberry line. They might eventually release one because I feel like every luxury beauty brand has one in their collection. I haven't purchased their pressed powder yet. I'm on hold for that. I'm looking forward to see if they release blushes again because they redid their makeup line, and I showed in my Burberry video my original compacts that I still own, where they had the quads and they had the single blushes. They also had single shadows. So who knows what direction they'll go this year or the next, but looking forward to it because I've been enjoying the product that I purchased from them thus far. This is where we enter Sephora territory in April, where they held their spring savings event, and I picked up some stuff, some of which you've already seen. The Saie Supersuede blush in Chow. You can see it's a baked formula with a little bit of that luminous sheen on the finish, and initially I think it was just denial and pettiness, really, because this shade wasn't available at the time in store. I swatched it in store and was like, it's too orange anyway. I was just mad because it wasn't available right then and there. So I decided to pick up Grazie instead, which is a bright berry, and not too bad. It doesn't look bruisey on me. It's quite nice, and a color that I would probably wear solo from hollow to cheeks. Unlike Chow is like my perfect center of face blushed out glow, and the powder texture is incredibly seamless on the blend. It's smooth on the application, easy to layer, there's no scent whatsoever, and because of that sheen in the powder, because of that baked texture, how it's formulated, it doesn't look flat on the cheek. So if you're more in tune with matte blushes like the ones in from the Tower 28 line, you might like those more, but I do like a little bit of sheen in my blush. Though I do have matte blushes in my collection, like I showed with the YSL. The YSL powder I felt was softer than the Tower 28, just based from what I felt in store with the tester. I don't have them both with me, so I can't elaborate on the differences because I have a limited experience with the Tower 28, but the YSL matte, because it's so soft, it doesn't look super flat on the skin. It just looks beautifully smooth. And the Supersuede, in opposition, has more of like that sheen and softer of a sheen effect than YSL's satin finish. The satin finish in that line has a little more pearl, a higher ratio pearl to not pearl in the formula. I don't know how else to say it. It's so unscientific. But the Saie blushes were a hit this year. And as you've already seen, the Givenchy Prism Libre 4-color pressed powder that I applied mid-face. And I have a video comparing this to the Prada Reset Rebalancing powder. I gave it to the Prada overall just because in the luxury beauty space, Prada Beauty has a slight edge with its formulations, and the Givenchy is just your typically formulated pressed powder, although despite it being powder feeling, there is a creaminess to it, as you can see. So it's not super flat. I think it's good. It's a great pressed powder. It's cheaper than the Prada, okay? And it has like 6 colorways as opposed to Prada's just single one, universal mint shade, the logo beauty shade for the brand. But this one is solid. I applied it today over my Gucci concealer and center of face on the Givenchy foundation in the morning, just to kind of help offset any oil sweat breakthrough. And for me, my skin looks soft, it looks blurred. The point of this pressed powder is to provide those diffusing blurring effects, but also to take away a little bit of shine. And it also comes with the brush inside the compact. So I think this is better design for on-the-go application if you just need that light touch-up. And I do have these Westman Atelier bronzing drops that I have not been using. I feel like a terrible customer. This was a bit of a splurge, but I made sure to purchase this during the Sephora sale. You know, I guess I just haven't found a role for it, because when it comes to bronzer, I naturally reach for powder products. Despite it being mostly easy to apply, I guess it's because of that extra step I have to take in prepping the texture on back of hand first, instead of just going from pan to powder or pan brush to face, right? So I guess that deters me from using it more often, but I really should be, because I think it's a lovely product. It's just a me thing. I, again, rather use bronzing powders, but I do recognize how well this is formulated, but I think I forgot what the suggested shelf life is on these. Westman Atelier liquids tend to go quick because Gucci doesn't like to use the preservatives or whatever, but I'm like, Gucci, you're killing us, okay? If I'm forgetting anything from this Sephora section in the mid-year faves, just know I have a video covering everything. I also purchased a few more Prada Beauty eyeshadow quad refills. You know what? I could just look at my order history, Alicia. I also purchased Sensual Sunset that I showed earlier in the video from Charlotte Tilbury, darling. I ordered a new Pradascope that's on standby. Oh, the Yves Saint Laurent mini clutch palette in Over Noir. I had my eye on that for a while. The Isamaya skin enhancing duo in Capricorn that I showed earlier, as well as the lip liner in Geisha. I did pick up the Valentino soft matte liquid lipstick and blush in Nude in Motion, but I haven't been using this as much as I should, because I should totally take advantage of this color. It's super lightweight. So I have to give this another shot. I'm not going to speak on it now because I didn't give it a proper run, if you will. I have to test it, try it with different brushes, maybe try it with different products, just so it could emerge as either a like or love or not so much. And before that, I did purchase a few items in store. Unfortunately, on the Sephora app, it doesn't give me my in-store details. I'll have to sift through my emails for the receipt. But anyway, those were standout. And we follow up with now Victoria Beckham Beauty. I'm not gonna spend the entire portion of this video gushing because I did so in my Victoria Beckham Beauty video. Let me just say this. I am thrilled to have finally experienced Victoria's line this year. One of the more standout experiences I had with makeup, and I don't know what took me so long. It might have been the price, it might have been a little bit of intimidation because I didn't know what to pick, but many of you had helped me out when I mentioned in my Shop With Me video dedicated just to Victoria Beckham Beauty as I browsed the site that you recommended some of her products and described the ones that you loved and didn't love so much, and that helped me narrow down my basket. And of course, I visited a Blue Mercury location in New York that holds Victoria Beckham Beauty, and that was a delight because to finally touch and feel the products in real time, it just helps when instead of trying to figure out from online. Let me just say this. Standout products, 100% Victoria Beckham Beauty Bronzing Brick, the Cheeky Posh blush stick that I have in mini skirt and playground. The eye wardrobe refills, recently I purchased Birdo Bliss. Get out of here. The stars of the show definitely have to be the satin Kajal liners. These are a few products that I just mentioned, but you know, let me just kind of hold them up to the lens, shall we? The compacts. It's the packaging, friends. This just feels so good in the hands. But again, the stars of the show have to be the satin Kajal liners. That might not be stars to some. I think there's a little bit of a learning curve with these pencils, and perhaps you have to change your expectations about them for them as well. The texture is a lot softer than, let's say, Pat McGrath Permagel liner, the Prada liners, a lot of liners out there, even the Addiction Tokyo ones that I swatched with these, have longer lasting power initially, like they set quick. These have a longer set time. So if you give them a little time to set, I think you'll be all right. Although some have expressed that no matter how long they waited, these just faded from their waterlines quickly and it wasn't a fit for them, and that's just okay. How I like to use these is to take advantage of the softer texture. I run it on my entire lid and then I blend it out right away. It serves almost like as a cream eyeshadow that can enhance any shadow you apply on top, or just solo. That's my favorite. When you just run this along the lid and you use your finger, you don't even have to reach for a brush. You can if you want. Use your finger to diffuse the edges. It looks hazed out, it looks soft. You could either run it here under your lower lash line or apply it on the waterline and then use the brush to soften the edges of that application. I have 6 of them. I couldn't help myself. I think it's an exceptional formula. These pencils are outstanding. They're outstanding to me because I found a way to work with them that I love how they look and how they integrate with my shadow looks. And I think because I've carved out a role for them, that's why I'm like on cloud 9 when I'm talking about these liners. And of course, I can't forget these eye pots. This is in Tea Rose. Ooh, don't drop it. Specifically, the lid lusters. These have a lot more texture than the shadows, but boy, oh boy, the shine is there. And again, I could have went in with like the terracotta liner and then pop this right on. But even just that, you don't have to pick up a ton. I think if you're conservative with how much you take from the lid luster, you can eliminate potential fallout, right? Is when you pick up a ton, that's where you run the risk of the particles falling. But just a little tappity tap on the lid. Look how that glistened up, okay? I have not purchased another one since. but I do have my eye on velvet, not gonna lie. I have my eye also on like the khaki olive colors from the liners. I want to get velvet so I could pair it with the olive wardrobe palette. I might just wait until her Black Friday event because I don't need it now. I'm fine. I have Tea Rose. I have Mink. Oh, Mink is like that perfect. I don't want to say it's just charcoal. It is that silvery charcoal hue. Let me go get it. There's something else in there. I can't figure it out. It's more like a charcoal taupe. This is glam. It is glam and it is beautiful all over, nothing else, just la, la, la. And you apply your lashes, you apply your mascara, whatever you want to do, and you got your super sparkly smoky glam eye, just like that. Okay, enough said, I'm moving on. Suku's Velvet Fit formula released this year in spring, and I have to give it up to Suku's efforts for just pushing the boundaries on their lipstick formulas. I am partial to their Moisture Glaze, 100%. I think the Moisture Glaze formula is by far one of the best lipsticks they have ever developed, and from the entire industry, to have a hybrid lip product like that doesn't feel sticky, that doesn't taste like anything, smell like anything, that you could build the color up, it feels comfortable, it's moisturizing, it's hydrating, it checks off all the boxes. Suku's Velvet Fit also is a lovely product. As you can see, it's matte, is a small bullet for more precision on the application. Ooh, running out of room. This is in the shade, hold on, I gotta take out the refill. This is 01 from their permanent line because they did release, I think, 2 limited edition shades for spring. I have 01 and I forgot the other number I have. That's like a tea red, is beautiful. This is like a peachy beige. And what I like about the Velvet Fit, that it is matte, but it's still like a soft matte. It's creamy, it's still comfortable on the application and on the wear. If I were to compare this to Prada's Hyper Matte, which in my opinion, one of the most comfortable mattes you'll ever wear, let me know down below. Dare I say, this might be a little sacrilegious, but I'm gonna say it, it's just my opinion. The Prada Hyper Matte is more comfortable than Lisa's Velvets. It just goes on smoother. I don't feel like I'm gonna break the bullet every time I attempt to apply a velvet from Lisa. I'll give it to Lisa for having better colors, for sure, although I do have my favorites from the Prada matte, 2 of them being B01 and B13. Those are beautiful colors. Why don't I just go ahead and swatch? Which one is this? This is B13. This is like a cool beige. It's pretty, and I love to wear that with Liberica. And the one that I wore, oh no, that's not the cool beige. I'm sorry. My apologies. That is not the cool beige. That's more like a warm beige-ish, like a rose beige. Is that accurate? This, however, B01. B01 is the cool beige. This is what I wear with Liberica, and it is fun. It has like a grungy tone to it. It's definitely like a grayish brown that doesn't make me look dead. But when paired with, like, let's say Charlotte Super Neutral, Isamaya's Contour Stick in Maple, the entire look is beautiful. It's something I like to do from time to time. Like today we went super warm, of course, but sometimes I like to look super sculpted and contoured, and this shade just pulls it all together. But back to the Suku Velvet Fit, I think this is a fantastic lipstick. I don't reach for it as often because, again, in the summertime, and I have a matte lip now on for this video, but I tend to gravitate towards the shinier finishes for summer than I do mattes. But when I do wear this with, let's say, Victoria's lip liner in 4, do I have that around here? Let me see. I do actually. So if I pair this with 4, that would be a good pairing, right? Because 4 is a rosy brown, and it does have a nice contouring effect where it doesn't look super dark brown, where it would totally throw off the peach undertone. So I could experiment with that in the future. But it's a great product, and it's refillable. So you don't have to repurchase the component over and over again. You could just repurchase the refills. Same thing with the Moisture Glaze lipsticks. And same thing with the Prada. You could do the refills for the Prada as well. Just wanted to put that out there. Okay, we've arrived at Viseart, although the timeline is a little off because I think... When did I buy Citaneuse? Yes, I remember now. I purchased Citaneuse and Praline last year during the Black Friday event, and I was sad because I didn't realize at the time that Praline and Lilas were limited edition, but Viseart brought them back. They brought them back, and that's when I decided to grab Lilas, which I have a video for, swatches and all. It's a beautiful opportunity to dive into the lilacs, to the cooler tones. And my gosh, again, I think Viseart did something with these metallics, man. The shine factor is outrageous, but the tones from Lilas are, again, it's a nice escape from the neutral browns, the neutral mauves, but we're gonna get into the mauves because we got Midsummer on standby, okay? And for someone like my skin tone, it's nice to have these shades that translate the same on my skin as they appear in pan, and it doesn't look chalky. Now, if you are deeper complected and you've tried Lilas, you can let me know down below what your experience was. I actually would go with Violette Vespertine or even Cashmere, because those mattes, or even Cashmere Charmeuse, excuse me, because they have a cool element to them, but they're more pigmented, so they have a little more color delivery and probably can provide a similar experience like what's found in Lilas. But Midsummer, that actually Viseart, was it both? Yes, okay, so Viseart was so kind in sending me PR for Praline and Lilas. I purchased Praline last year, purchased Lilas when it restocked. They sent them both and I held a giveaway. They also sent Midsummer, but I purchased Midsummer and then gave away Midsummer thereafter. These mauves are unique because they are true neutral, and I think that's what's most stand out. And what I noticed until I was editing the footage and seeing the colors on my screen, I'm like, wow, because initially when you see this on screen you might read it quite warm, but I think these sit quite neutral in my opinion, and they're just lovely. They're beautiful shades, and the opportunity to just create a little bit of that smoke without necessarily going too dark on the eyes, but having that shading and that contouring effect with these colors. If you have Midsummer and Tea Rose, oh my gosh, I just realized what a bomb combination that would be. Are you kidding me? Or Tea Rose with Lilas. That would be a bomb combination as well. This is Midsummer and Tea Rose right here, okay? Or we could go Tea Rose with Lilas. Ooh. Yes, that might have to be a short. I'm gonna put it on the queue. And we've arrived to 3 impromptu purchases from Sephora, where I was just perusing through the aisles and ran into Benefit's cream bronzer. Had no idea they released a product like this. I purchased medium deep and was quite pleased with the texture. It's creamy but lightweight, easy to apply, buildable color, on the warmer side, but I like the texture and I like how it looks on my skin. And following up with the Haus Labs Glassy Balm Sticks in their more bronzer colors, I have Glassy Cayenne and Glassy Cinnamon. Out of the two, Glassy Cinnamon for sure is the winner. This color right here, stop it right now. And the formula, the texture is exceptional. For it being a glassy type of a product, it doesn't feel sticky. It doesn't apply splotchy, because that's something I'm wary about with these textures. When you apply it on top of a foundation or even a skin tint, when you go in with your finger or even a brush, that sometimes it lifts the foundation or tint from your face, but this doesn't do that. It applies evenly and seamlessly, and the colors are exceptional. This is a color that I could just throw on the entire cheek area. I'm like over bridge of nose to the hollows to the cheekbones and just go nuts. And it could layer underneath something else too if you wanted to go that route. So I'm happy the brand released more of the bronzy colors, because to have a shade that's bronzy but also provides a little bit of that sun-kissed look as well in the undertone, oh my god, you know, I can't get enough. Can't get enough. And I am dying, yes, to finally try Danessa's recently released Color Fix Duo Sticks. They look so much fun. But she also released her Freedom Palette Mini Pastel Dream, and I thought this was actually more user-friendly than I initially thought because of the vibrancy you see. But once you start to play with it and realize that these are quite pastel friendly, they're not in your face super pastel, like white base pastel. They're I guess more of like a mid-tone, but that makes it, I think, more user-friendly across the board, where you can either apply these as accent shades, as I've shown on a few shorts and also a longer form video. But these duochromes, they're shiny, easy to pick up, easy to apply, either on the entire lid or, as I like to do sometimes, lower inner corner. You can have a lot of fun with how you place these colors. But that's something I wanted to drive home with my Pastel Dream video, is that you don't necessarily have to use each and every color at once on the entire eye. You can use these shades as accent moments, like I had described when I used light scatters from Bad to the Brow and Clionadh Cosmetics, because when you have those sparkly multi-chrome moments on the inner corner, or maybe just as a wash over the lid and not like full-on multi-chrome, it can be quite pretty, in my opinion. Maria got the lab brushes that were kindly sent by Beautylish in PR. I think these are fantastic brushes. They're synthetic, but what attracted me the most is how they're constructed. So you have these decorative tips at the end of the handle and a wide variety of shapes. And allow me to share my few favorites. The cream cheek brush, of course, for all the cream blushes that I showed in my collection. Number 2 is goated for highlight, and because of the flat surface, it's precise in applying to the cheekbone, but it's also great for that light dusting. For instance, if I wanted to just lightly dust my Givenchy powder, I could take it over the center of my face, but because the brush is fluffy, it's not going to lay down as much powder. And what I use, again, as I mentioned, for highlight, the number 1 is fantastic as it's multi-use. You could apply highlight, you could run it through the hollows, you could dab around the apples of the cheeks. And my favorite eye brush has to be the Arrowhead. Inner corner, lid, you could use the edge for the lower lash line, you could use the body of the brush to lay down some color and smoke it out on the lid. So generally, I thought this was a fantastic set and one of the more higher end looking synthetic brush sets that I've encountered. And you don't have to get the entire set. These are sold separately as singles, but those are my standout favorites, and I've been using them ever since I received them. I think mid-May, like late May, and have been enjoying them ever since. And Maria is, I believe, a Spanish-based makeup artist, if I'm not mistaken, and I had wanted to delve deeper into her works and just get familiar with her technique, because as I mentioned with a lot of makeup, when you understand the artist, I think you create a better connection with what they develop, be it makeup or tools. And I think that just makes it fun as a consumer when you better understand their intent, their inspiration, and as a user will just have a more enhanced experience with their brand. Speaking about highlighter, I made a video looking at both the Prada highlighter and the YSL. Both are beautiful, I'll just put it out there. But if I had to pick one, this Prada highlighter is unlike anything I've ever tried for highlighting. The creaminess, the luminosity, just how, oh my gosh, when you apply this on the cheekbones, I'll do it right now. It looks like literal pearl, okay? Lit from within. I gushed over this in my Battle of the Highlighter video. in my June faves. Unfortunately, it only comes in 3 shades. And even the pink shade is too dark for lighter complected individuals, as they have mentioned. So they might have to wear it lower on the face, and that's where the YSL has an advantage, where they have the lighter pearl or even lavender tinted highlight. So although the YSL powder, still lovely, might not be as creamy, and this has more of like a twinkle effect on the skin versus a lit from within pearl effect, it's still a good highlighter. And if you could find a color that's fitting for your skin tone, I think that's more important in the end. We've arrived at the end, finally, and I wanted to wrap the list with Sonia Beauty, as I recently purchased from this brand. Sustainable, refillable, clean beauty, la 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 la. What led me to find out more is Enamored Beauty suggested that I try out their Blurring Pillow Blush in Copper Spice. This is the color of life. 100% the MVP shade of the summer. Hollows, cheeks, over the nose. This is what gives me that literal sun-kissed effect. And their ceramide lip silk unfortunately broke on me because the texture is quite soft. This is in Rewind, which is a brown. The setback is how soft these lipsticks are. I should have known better, and I carried it around in a super hot day. This is a lipstick that unfortunately I think has to stay at home in the 90s, you know, but in the 80s and below, probably better. But I have to see if I can melt it together so it can bind again, because poor thing, it broke. I might have missed some products. I'm sure I did. That doesn't mean they're not favorites. It's perhaps they were favorites at the time, and I haven't placed them in my current rotation, because if it was spring, depending on the season, I gravitate towards certain color stories or types of makeup looks. And now in the summertime, as you can see, I tend to go a little warmer, more sun-kissed and all that stuff. Oh no, I said we'll end with Sonia Beauty, but we gotta end with this bronzer that I recently filmed a first impressions of. This Farah Homidi bronzer. Initially, when I applied too much, you could see the color. You could, oh, I'm running out of room. You could see the effect it has on the skin. It has that beautiful sheen effect because it is a hybrid product. But what I appreciate about the color, because when I saw it on the photos, it looked quite red. This is my true tan shade. Like, this is what it would look like if I was super tan. And what I constantly seek after when buying bronzer, because bronzer to me is supposed to invoke that sun-kissed effect with makeup. And a lot of the bronzers that I have in my collection could appear a little too artificial, like I applied a little too much there. But you see the tone of it, and you see how it could give me that tan. So once you pair this bronzer with the right brush, watch out, we're getting crazy over here. And this is a limited edition Hakudo holiday brush. It's made with, I believe it's Blue Squirrel and Goat, but it's so air light, and I think a nice pairing with the Farah bronzer. But I'm just kind of buffing away a little bit of what I did on the forehead. But ooh, this is a color. It does have a light coconut scent that I couldn't detect on my first impressions video, but it goes away. You don't smell it on, or I don't smell it on myself all day. You do smell it on the application. It is one of the best bronzers I've ever used. And the color though, the color, I was unsure because of how I applied it initially. It was a blunt application, color heavy, but just so you can see the undertone and how it works on my skin, you know, I took one for the team. But once I started experimenting with the different brushes and then pairing it with the right tool, this is where we bridged the gap. And I know I purchased this in July, so technically this is not supposed to be a part of the mid-year phase video because the cutoff is end of June, but just wanted to include it since I recently again uploaded a video about it and wanted to follow up on a few discoveries that I made with its performance. And again, it's an expensive bronzer, $78 with the compact, I think $42 for just the refill if you just wanted to go refill and not compact. And a closing statement on these mid-year faves, that the last 6 months have been just exceptional with beauty, where I feel excited. I feel excited to apply my makeup for videos or even just to go out. It's exciting to curate or to decide what goes in the makeup bag when I'm traveling, to arrange the color stories from eyes to cheeks to lips, even foundation with the undertones, and just becoming well acquainted with my collection and discovering how I can wear these products the best way to enhance their textures and their colors and what they could bring to the table for my face. Experimenting, being curious with pairing with this and pairing with that, it truly has just been a lot of fun. And with the tools that were just generously sent, not only from Sonia but from Bobo, from Fude Bobo. She's sending me a few brushes. They're on their way. I think they arrive tomorrow. Again, when you have the tools, it makes beauty fun. When you know whatever you're applying on your face, on your eyes, what have you, that it's going to be gorgeous. I think it encourages you to push boundaries with how you usually wear makeup, with textures that you don't usually play with. It just makes you more playful and experimental with your beauty. And because of the tools, and then when you have the formulas to boot, is a blast. That's all I'm saying. Let me know what your mid faves have been. Even if it's a long list, I don't care. The YouTube algorithm loves long comments. So have fun down below. Most importantly, you made it this far. Make sure you like this video, as it will let YouTube know to share more of my videos for your viewing pleasure, and will also recommend videos to other beauty enthusiasts such as yourself. And make sure you subscribe. Summer's not over. There might be more beauty finds before the summer's end, and you'll know when those uploads drop, especially when you click that notification bell. And if you want to watch that first impressions of the Viral Homidi Essential Bronzer Compact as well as her lip liner, you can click that video here. I'll make sure to see you there down in the comments for this one, and on here again next time.